For more resources, visit rymonline.org.
One, two, three.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're here with Josh and Matt. Today, we know it's hump day, and so sometimes that can be a discouraging day of the week. So, hey, we want to ask some encouraging questions of you guys, and specifically, what's a truth or some truths that you guys reflect upon for encouragement and perspective in youth ministry? We know just like any ministry, it can get discouraging at times. So what have you found yourself kind of clinging to? What are some truths that you go back to for encouragement?
One of the things that always encourages me is just, I've just been teaching on the ascension just recently, which is kind of, who teaches on the ascension, right? That seems so weird. But one of the things about the ascension is when Christ ascends into heaven, he's not just sort of disappearing into the sky like a helium balloon, which is what I thought when I was a kid. He's gone. We'll never see him again until he comes back thousands of years later. But no, he's actually going up and sitting down on his throne. And he won. And when he comes back, the game is over. And we're just waiting for him to come back. And that is so encouraging to me, because there are times I can be so depressed and looking at the youth ministry and feeling like we should be somewhere else, we should be bigger, we should be doing more, we should be, what needs to be better. And if it's not better, then everything's going to kind of crumble away. And reminding myself that, Christ is on his throne, and he's an advocate for me, and he is reminding the Father of my worth because of his worth, and that the game is already over. Like, his kingdom has won. And that is so encouraging to me, because it takes all the stress and pressure off of my life and thinking that I've got to usher in God's kingdom now in Austin, Texas or something, which if you're not careful, you do think that. Yeah. And so that's something that's always really encouraging to me.
Yeah, let's just close in prayer. That was awesome.
Yeah.
that is a good truth. Yeah, for sure.
So this might be playing off your truth a little bit as well, but I've written on my board, my whiteboard, you're going to fail, so go ahead and try, which in a lot of ways is a distillation of this. Like, at the end of the day, Jesus' evangelistic ministry didn't do so great, right? Like at the crescendo of his evangelistic ministry, his closest followers, turned on him, and one of them denied him, one of them betrayed him, and then the crowds turned on him. He didn't he wasn't preaching to a football field of people, right? And he lost. He seemed to have lost. And so that narrative there is just such a helpful reminder that, gosh, ministry just feels like losing sometimes. It feels, Paul, like, I'm given over to death for your sake. I'm being poured out as a drink offering on your faith. Like, I'm fulfilling in myself the crucifixion of Jesus or whatever. I'm bearing in my body the crucifixion of Jesus. And you're just like, whoa, that's, of course I'm not that low all the time, right? But it's a helpful reminder to get into that narrative and then to realize, but then he rose. Jesus is the resurrected and reigning one. And so often ministry just feels like this grind, and you're going to fail. And it's through those failures and difficulties that God is doing something beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so good, Matt. That's really, really good. I think another thing for me is, this is maybe more specific to middle school ministry, but reminding myself just that exact same verse that you just quoted, and reminding that we are called to even share and make up part of Christ's suffering, which seems so bizarre and doesn't make sense. But this is how it makes sense to me in middle school ministry. Middle school students are so unbelievably awkward and terrified of everything. And most of the time it's just really annoying, right? And I'm just like, just get out of my sight. I'm so tired of you being terrified of going and playing paintball. You mentioned it like 40,000 times,
We'll be
okay, man.
Right. We'll tell your students not to tell them, by the way.
Yeah. But I when I like reframe all of that and say, you know, part of my role as a youth minister is to take on some of my kids' suffering onto myself. That really allows me to like be willing to step in the line of some kid who's being made fun of. In other words, how it kind of works for me is when there's a kid who's like really, we got a couple of kids who've been really bullied in school, and then when they bring that kind of insecurity into the youth group, they're hyper defensive, and it makes other people want to just sort of tease them. And so what I've tended to do is just kind of step in there and become the object, become the target for like any kind of mockery and take it. And that's not really something you really like to do, but realizing that you're doing that is to kind of share in the suffering of that kid, and it binds you to that kid in a unique way, and really allows you to kind of move through that suffering. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
I just want to re-echo what Matt said again. Like you got to just embrace failure. Like I think it's really what we've been saying, kind of three ways, but just that I get so caught up in like appearance and how things are going, and if they're going well, and the temptation is always to say like more kids were at an event than were really there, and all these kind of weird things, and just embracing the fact that you're not going to do things well, because that in itself is just a reminder that this youth ministry, the church, is not built on your back, and it doesn't have anything to do with ultimately you. It has to do with Jesus. And that is a truth that, at least for me, allows me to fail. It allows me to tell other people that I fail. Like, and to just go to other people and like parents and just say, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't communicate this to you. This is what we're doing, and now your kid's missing out, and you're mad at me, and it's my fault, and I'm sorry. And I failed. And if I don't really believe that like the church is really Christ's, then, and it's on me, then I don't want to go tell that parent that. I don't want to apologize. I don't want to make myself vulnerable, because it's just too terrifying and scary. And it's like it's tied into your job, it's tied into your self-worth, and when you untie it from all those things, then it's you're able to do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. We're like you said, saying a lot of the same things about failure, and it's also good to be able to say that in front of your students as well, because obviously as you're talking about middle schoolers, and I think more so middle schoolers than high schoolers, but they try to enthrone you and make you their savior and make you Jesus. And as much as you're able to talk about your failures in front of them, you're showing them, hey, there's another savior, and it's not me. So yeah, that's really good, guys. Anything to add to that? All right, thanks.